Well, hello there, and welcome to this episode of The Terri Cole Show. I'm going to start with a couple of questions, as I like to do. So are you someone who proudly proclaims that they never get angry? Or do you wait so long to deal with your anger that when it finally does come out, you explode and then feel guilty as shit and wish that you could take it all back? Anybody? Or does anger feel unsafe and uncomfortable for you? You can't see me if you're not watching, but I could be raising my hand. Listen, anger is such a complicated emotion for so many of us, especially if you were raised to be a good girl like I was and like many of us were. Anger might not have been an acceptable emotion in your family of origin like it was for me, or you might have grown up with a super angry household, which also can negatively impact your relationship to your own anger. But it's super important to identify, acknowledge, and process your anger because it doesn't just go away. So that's exactly what we're doing today in this video. I'm giving you some really important signs that you might be suppressing your anger so that you can start to identify it, naming the most 6 common types of anger, and tips on how you can start to acknowledge, honor, integrate, process your anger better. So, if you don't know me, my name is Terri Cole. I'm a licensed psychotherapist, a relationship expert. I'm the author of Boundary Boss and the Boundary Boss Workbook, and also the upcoming brand new book called Too Much, all about stopping the cycle of high-functioning codependency, coming out in October, that I think you're gonna love. I'm so excited about it. So before we get into it, if you happen to be new, and if you're old, but you're not subscribed to this channel, hello, go look right now. If you watch me weekly and you are not subscribed, this is me telling you, go subscribe right now. Click the buttons. Do the thing. You can subscribe and you want to hit the bell icon so that you get notified of every time I roll out new stuff every Tuesday and every Thursday. Because I know a lot of you watch and are not subscribers, but it's better for me if you are a subscriber. So since this is a free gift to you, a free gift you can give me is subscribe. It doesn't hurt you. Okay, thank you for your questions and your comments. You know, I read them all. And from Bob, the high price of high-functioning codependency underneath that video. Terri, you are changing my life. I can already see the spiraling out to others that it is bringing. I'm forever indebted and grateful for everything you are so kind to share. Your words feel so incredibly genuine and your truths are real and raw. I don't appreciate the puffy red eyes and stuffy nose you give me, but a minor price to pay for finally figuring me out. May all your goodness to others circle back to you. Oh, Bob, you're such a sweetheart for saying that. I super appreciate you taking the time to write that comment. It really does warm my heart because really, you guys, I do put out all this free content for you because my dream is that I will teach you something that helps you lessen your own suffering and elevate your own joy. That's my true motivation. Positive world domination. That's what I'm interested in. So it really does make me feel so happy when I know that the work is helping you because it makes me know I'm doing my job. All right, why don't we move it on into today's episode, shall we? So, suppressing your anger is super common, especially among women. So, either we were taught that anger, as I said at the top, was a forbidden emotion in childhood, or maybe feels too threatening because there was too much anger in your household. So, I'm giving you 10 signs that will help you identify maybe that what you're feeling or the way you're behaving is you suppressing your anger. And keep in mind that many of these are because they are safer alternatives than feeling our anger. I mean, this is like the perfect conversation for me to be having personally, because it's still not my most favorite emotion, but I'm way better with it than I was when I was 22, you know? So a lot of times this is how we protect ourselves from the anger we feel like we can't handle. So you might do what I call emotion swapping, right? Swap out your anger for a different, safer emotion, which I did all of my life. If I was angry, I would cry. I would turn it into upsetness because that was okay. I was allowed to be upset. I wasn't allowed to be angry. Sarcasm. So passive-aggressive way of expressing anger, disappointment, or frustration. Are you really sarcastic? So think about the way that you handle, because it can happen so quick, because that's also one of my go-tos, or at least it has been in the past. Number 3, you might be conflict avoidant. So being uncomfortable with confrontation could point to a fear of either your own or other people's anger. I mean, the end of the end, though, right, is that it's a protective gesture, but it really won't be effective in the long run because in the end, we end up feeling resentment. So again, it isn't like it works to keep us safe from our anger. It just turns it into something else that we still have to deal with. And if we're conflict avoidant, we're not going to want to do that either, you know? Number 4, you might have control issues. This can be a sign of repressed anger, feeling compelled to control others and situations, again, in a bid for safety. And this is very HFC, high-functioning codependent actions right here, because when you think about as HFCs, really it's a covert or overt bid to control all the people and all their experiences and their relationships. But again, it could be a way of suppressing or repressing our anger, where we are fueling our anger into control rather than expressing it. Also, passive-aggressive behavior. So indirect expression of anger, it could be one of the most destructive in relationships form of covert communication. So think about it. I bet if you were sitting right here, you'd be able to list ways that people passively aggressively, or maybe you do, express your anger. Maybe you slam a door. Maybe a heavy sigh. Maybe you say you're fine when you're not. There's lots of different ways. Maybe you take a long time to get back to someone because you're mad at them, but you don't know how to say that you're mad. So instead you let your silence do the talking for you. All right, number 6, disordered boundaries. When I was actually in college, I remember, because I didn't do anger, right? That was literally my thing. And I remember telling him, he was a pretty well-adjusted guy, and he got angry about something. And I remember being like, hey, that's a problem. I was like, I don't do anger. And he looked at me and he was like, wait, so you're saying I can never be angry? I was like, kind of. At the time, he said, I'm not sure I can promise that, Terri. I don't think it's even normal to never be angry. I was like, well, that's the way we're going to do it if you want to be in a relationship with me. He was like, okay, I'll try. But again, that incorporates disordered boundaries, because it's not my side of the street to say who can and can't be angry. Repressed anger turning into control, all of those right there in disordered boundaries. And I think with anger, a lot of times the disordered boundaries present as rigid boundaries. So it's the person who can't talk about their anger. I actually have someone in my life I'm very close to who's like this, who instead of saying that they're mad at you, they'll take a long time to get back to you, as I just said, or they'll say something snippy or bitchy instead of saying what actually it is, which is so hard because you're like, I have no idea what's going on, right? I don't understand. And that leads us into shutting down. And that could be being withdrawn in anger. Like I said before, if you're upset, but you say, I'm fine when someone asks you. Stonewalling, where you won't talk to someone at all. I mean, a lot of times with shutting down, it's almost like an unconscious safety mechanism where I can't handle these feelings of anger. So I just have to distance myself from them. But there's other things that happen when we shut down, meaning we can sort of collapse in on ourselves. That anger can be transmuted negatively into depression, right? Or into feeling numb. Like, I can't deal with feeling how angry I am, so I'm just not going to feel anything. And again, these are ways to, quote unquote, protect us, but it doesn't help because we need to be able to honor our full range of human experiences. And that means somehow snuggling up to our own anger in an honest way and looking at it and learning from it. Number 8 is exploding. When we bottle up anger, it builds. You know, they say like the straw that broke the camel's back type of a thing. That can happen emotionally if you have a lot of crap happening, layering on top of it, and you don't even know what is going to be the thing that's going to make you explode. Number 9 of a sign that you could be suppressing anger is holding grudges. When we don't process our anger healthily, a lot of times we can hold tight to grudges rather than saying, I'm really angry about this, or I don't like the way you treated me. It's like we just have this massive file cabinet in our mind where we're just filing away, like reason number 855, that Bob's a jerk. You know what I mean? And this is something that is really heavy to carry around, grudges. It's funny, one of my friends had a situation happen. She was super traumatized by it, which I understood, but it's like for probably 3 years after this experience that she had with it was like a guild that she was a part of and felt like they had done her wrong. Every single time she mentioned the guild, she would be like, you know them, the ones who totally screwed me over and did blah, blah, blah. Even when she was talking to people who went through hell with her in that experience. And I finally was like, why are we continuing to keep those bad feelings alive? It's not doing shit to the guild. It's stressful for you and everyone else around you. Like, let it go. You did everything that you could. Is there more you need to say? Write a letter. I'll witness it. Anyway, she stopped after that, but she needed to process it, which she really hadn't. And it's almost like there's this illusion that if we keep the anger alive, we are protecting ourselves. But what we have to really think about is that anger and repressed anger lives within us. It's our God pod that it's impacting, as Chris Carr would say. It becomes the issues in our tissues, not someone else's tissues. You know what I mean? So it's something that we almost feel like, I'm not going to forgive them. And I don't say forgive, but holding grudges is bandwidth sucking from you. And that's really what I care about most, right? Is what can you do to gain back bandwidth? All right, number 10, guilt and shame. Anger might make you feel like a bad person, especially if you came from a family system that thought it was gauche or inappropriate or like unseemly, or as, what is Chris? My friend Chris said her grandmother used to say, like unbecoming of a lady or something like that, And, what that does is it shames us into stuffing the anger. It's not ladylike to stuff your anger, and who the hell cares, right? All we're talking about is healthy human interactions. How can we become the healthiest human around our own anger? And it certainly isn't in shoving it down or having a ton of guilt or shame around it, because there's nothing shameful around being angry. It's one of the emotions, like the essential human emotions, that nobody has the power to just be like, I'm not going to feel that anymore. You are going to feel it. The question is, are you healthy enough to honor it, to process it, to tolerate it, to integrate it? That's the question. Because there is no doubt you will feel angry. There is no possible way around it. So that's really why we're talking about it. I want to talk a little bit about the 6 common types of anger. So understanding that there are different types of angers, this can help you raise your awareness, right? More about different situations you find yourself in and how do you relate to others, right? I found in my therapy practice over the past 27 years is that people are so reticent to express anger outwardly, much more so than they are to internalize it, right? And that's the thing we really don't want to do. So, assertive anger. This is constructive. This just means we're effectively communicating how you feel, being direct, being to the point, while not damaging or hurting the other person, right? Expressing your needs, wants, feelings clearly, right? So you can say, I'm angry that you didn't let me know you were going to be in late last night and that I had a terrible night's sleep because of that. I was listening for you. I'd like to make a simple request that in the future you keep your word and you let me know that you're going to be late, right? Even just that, just saying, it's funny, when I got healthier around my own anger, I went from not being able to talk about it at all to being able to, like when I got a little bit healthier, I was able to say, I was angry. And it took me years until I could be in the moment of saying, I'm pissed right now. Like, I'm angry. Why didn't you tell me? It would have been so much easier or whatever. I'm perfectly okay to have those conversations now, which if you had told my 22-year-old self that one day I was going to be having those conversations on the regular, she would have been like, no, we're not. We're definitely not doing that. So I know for sure you can change. And really assertive anger is healthy, Then we have behavioral anger. This is like physically expressing out your anger with violence. Right? This is within the intention to harm and hurt, breaking things, physical intimidation, throwing things. All of that is behavioral anger. You have chronic anger. And I know people like this who are just endlessly pissed off in life. So what does it look like? Ongoing, often internalized. I find it's both, though. I've interacted with both types. It can look like resentment towards others, circumstances, or self, persistent feelings of frustration and annoyance. I also see this from a therapeutic point of view as a way of protecting yourself from having to have intimate relationships. Because if you're endlessly annoyed, nobody wants to get close to you, right? And it's a way of not being vulnerable to chronic anger. And of course, it's terrible for your health, obviously. Then we have passive-aggressive anger, which we talked about a little bit. But, additional examples of this, eye-rolling, short one-word answers. Oh, the annoyed, heavy sigh. You know how it is. So again, that's a type of anger, though, that some people have no ability to be direct. And yet that anger is not going anywhere, so passive aggression becomes the way that they can do it. The fifth type of anger is retaliatory anger, right? When someone hurts or attacks you, or your instincts is to get back at them. You want revenge. This is probably the most common form of anger. You know why? Because people feel very justified. If you harmed me first, then I can harm you back. I gotta say, obviously, I don't agree with that, right? And I think that my greatest power in life is, as Michelle Obama would say, when they go low, I go high. And that it is so powerful to have enough control over yourself where you go, no matter what anyone else does, I will not act below my own level of integrity, no matter what, because I got to live with that. So retaliatory anger, I feel like, no, thumbs down on that. And then number 6 is self-abusive anger, right? And this, again, is rooted in feelings of shame and guilt, lack of worthiness. It looks like negative self-talk, substance use or abuse, self-harm, could be cutting, could be disordered eating. But again, this is very common, especially I see this in younger, more teenage clients and grown-ups too. But it's common if you feel like you're in a double bind, like it's not safe to lash out anywhere else. And it's almost like the only safe place to lash out is within yourself. But it's so damaging to self-worth. So now you may be thinking, okay, I might be repressing some anger after all of that information. What can I do about it? Well, first of all, just know that you can change. Harvard did a study and found that with treatment, knowledge, and education, 75% of people who experienced explosive anger, which you might not even be dealing with, but can change with appropriate intervention. So there's hope, right? It's about deconstructing the root causes. And that was a big part that made the treatment super effective, right? You can change the way you respond and learn how to manage and honor your anger, no matter what you saw at home, And now that you're more aware of how it presents for you, it could be easier to shift those behaviors. So in the guide, I'm giving you a whole bunch of different ways that you can do it, terricole.com/guide. So we're going to be moving into different things that you can do. I'm going to give you some questions in the guide that you can answer, which are going to be, this is going to be your anger blueprint questions. You only need a few of these. Probably right now you already know where your anger comes from. I'm going to invite you to take a resentment inventory because this will also show you where you're harboring anger. Then other things that you can do. Meditate, breathe, do an angry journal mind dump session, right? Another thing is thinking about your boundaries. Get clear. A lot of times we're pissed off because we just don't have the words to set the boundaries that we need, and then we blame the other people, Throughout all of this, though, you guys, I really want you to practice self-compassion, especially if your anger is rooted in shame and guilt. Having anger does not make you a bad person. It just makes you normal, right? We all have a right to all of our feelings. And if you have been suppressing your anger for a long time and you begin to allow it, you might feel angry more often, but it's okay, right? It's like we learn to let it out, small actions at a time, and realize that all of those times that you start being annoyed and saying, hey, that's bothering me, that was a time it was bothering you then, but what you were doing was suppressing it. So I just want you to approach this entire anger experience and experiment, changing things up with the curious mind of a beginner. Forget all the judgment, forget all the past, just let's let all of that go And just realize that if you are suppressing a lot of anger, that is not good for your mental or your physical health or your emotional health, any of it. So I really hope that this episode of The Terri Cole Show sent you in the right direction. I'd love to hear all about it. And whether you did any of the things that I suggested in the guide, go to terricole.com/guide to get all the info that I just talked about. I hope you have the most amazing week. And as always, take care of you.